Hello, and thanks for joining us today on Around the Peninsula. I'm Maria Serrao. On today's show, you will meet students and teachers from Palos Verdes High School who share their stories of what in-home learning has been like. We start our show today with their principal, Mr. Alan Tyner. And we are now joined by Alan Tyner, who is the principal at Palos Verdes High School. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today and really just kind of talking about how your students are doing since they started with at-home school. To take you back a little bit, I know that last year, which we were just talking about, it's been almost a year now that students have been at home. I know it was very different in the beginning and it was a little confusing because it was so abrupt, but you had the summer to kind of go through the process of figuring this out. What changed over the summer to make this process for the new school year a little bit easier?
Well, I think, our teachers did a really good job over the summer of training on their technology. I mean, we use a single platform, Google Classroom, where we list all of our assignments for our students. So we did a lot of training with that. And I think, like you said, in March, we just dropped everything and started online. A lot of our teachers didn't have that technology training. I was talking to one of my teachers the other day, and he said, I feel like I got a master's in technology in the last year. And I really feel like our teachers have done a great job of collaborating, working with each other. When someone has a great idea, they share it with everyone else. And I think that's just allowed us to adapt and adjust and make things better for our students and help them learn the content.
Kind of talking about that a little bit with the teachers and the students working together. A lot of the students, yes, they struggled in the beginning, but a lot of them are doing very well now. What do you think it is that is allowing the students to have such success now?
I think getting into any kind of routine helps. I think, again, when you don't know, you come to school on a Thursday and then on Friday you're done, that really makes it hard. And I think we've gotten into this routine, and I don't want to say, our students are used to it in the sense that we're not coming back, but I think they understand what they need to do to be successful, and they've adjusted. And I think that's the great thing about students and teachers. I mean, you never know what the day is going to throw at you when you're on a high school campus, and I think that's the same thing online. I think both students and teachers have adjusted.
Speaking of sort of keeping the positivity up, I know last year you had the drive-through graduation, which we thought was really fantastic. I mean, everybody was having fun, cars were decorated. You really kind of had to adapt on the fly to things like that. What other kind of things have you had to adapt to like that?
Well, anytime we have an event that we have to cancel or we can't do, we try to look at ways to possibly do it. A lot of events we do on Zoom, but we're starting to look at events that are coming up for this year. I mean, our seniors very much want their senior activities, and I was on a Zoom today where we talked about how we're going to do some of these things and how we're going to approach them, and if we can have this event or that event. And then going back to graduation, I think going into that graduation last year, there was a little bit of apprehension on the part of our students and our parents, but we got a lot of positive feedback afterwards, which was great because that's what we wanted. We wanted to make it a memorable day, and I think we did that.
All right, we are now joined by Brian Shapiro, who is the athletic director at Palos Verdes High School. Brian, thank you so much for jumping on with us today and just talking about how sports is going. I know that obviously, all the kids are at home, but I know a lot of the student athletes are able to go to the school and work out and practice a little bit. So tell us about that and how it's kind of working.
Sure. We have county guidelines that are in place that allow us to still meet in person for outdoor activity. And that's been the biggest differentiation between indoor learning and outdoor physical activity. So outside, fresh air, a little bit of a safer environment. So we started up in October 5th, and did practices through December before we closed school for winter break. And then today's January 15th, and we're not back on campus yet. We're waiting until kind of the situation in LA County calms down a little bit with the hospital crowds and whatnot. But we've been able to get some kids on campus and bring some coaches back and do some good work.
I'm sure with all of the protocols, that must be a very complicated process. How do you sort of break it down so different sports can practice at different times?
Yeah, getting started was the hardest part. We spent a lot of time in August and September preparing to bring our kids back on campus in October and to do it as safely as possible. The county did give us guidelines that are somewhat sports specific, that talk about how you can share equipment safely, spacing and masks, when at all possible, and then avoiding other activities where you can't have those safety measures in place. So, basketball doesn't look like basketball and football doesn't look like football, but at least the kids are able to do some athletic exercise and do some conditioning, and do it in as safe an environment as we can.
We know how important sports are, of course, in school, and a lot of the student athletes are looking to go to college and maybe, take that with them. How are they sort of dealing with that next level of applying for colleges, possibly incorporating sports right now?
Sure. It's really hard on the students, and it causes a lot of anxiety, right? A lot of them
I
have
would think.
ambitions of being able to play at a certain school and not being able to demonstrate to a coach what they're capable of. It's been hard on our parents, who, want that for their children. There are some financial decisions at play with scholarship opportunities. It's also hard on the college coaches. My wife is a college coach, and trying to recruit athletes during a time where nobody is playing, is a big challenge. So one of the most important things for everybody to remember is that everybody's in the same boat.
Right.
So, our seniors or juniors who aren't playing right now, no seniors and juniors are playing. And so there's other ways that they can advocate for themselves, videotape, contacting coaches, interviews, all those kind of things.
From a mental standpoint, how important has it been that these student athletes are able to at least go to school to practice?
You hear that being talked about a lot amongst our athletes, as well as I think adults realize not only the physical benefit, but the mental benefit. And obviously it's not something you can quantify, but we know that our kids are happiest and healthiest when they have an opportunity to interact in person,
Right.
when they have an opportunity to exercise. You can only do so many push-ups in your garage,
Right.
before you need to go a little bit beyond that. So, you can't measure it, but I think we all know that it is an important part of our students' mental and physical health.
I am now joined by DJ Hill from Palos Verdes High School. Thank you so much for being with us. And, we're kind of just talking to teachers and students about, the successes doing the at-home school. And for, you as a teacher, I'm sure it's been, challenging. But if I can take you back to last year when everybody was kind of thrown into it and it was a little confusing, you had the summer to kind of go through things. Tell me how it got better and more on track for you as an educator in September.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. And it's gotten a lot better. The summertime was a really, really nice time for us collectively as educators to learn how to get on the same page with each other and kind of standardize and make things easier for the students. When we were forced online back last March, we were all using different programs, different softwares, different what we call learning management systems where students access our material. And so students literally had to have 5 different logins for 5 different systems that they were using with their teachers. And it got incredibly confusing for students. And so over the summer, what we did was we got all on the same page, and we invested in a software, Google Classroom. And we got some training on Google Classroom, and to where we figured out all the fun and really interactive ways in which we can teach our students. And so we were able to put that out there this year, and the students are now really familiar with it to the point where even if we have some problems with technology, they're doing it in all of their classes. So they're able to even help out their educators at times. And it's been great. They've adapted really well, and we found a lot of comfortabilities in our own teaching styles with what we have as far as our options now. And so it's been great.
What's an average day like for you? When do you start? How does it work?
Yeah, I've got some long days. I usually get up around 4:30. I teach a 0 period, so I teach at 7, and I'm best in the morning. So I like to get up and do some grading and some lesson planning in the morning, and then start teaching at 7 a.m. And I usually go all the way through until usually about 2 o'clock, sometime around there. And then take a little break. Maybe I also coach, so I might get out and coach a little bit, and then come back and start lesson planning again around 5 or 6, and usually work till about 9, and then do it over again.
Wow, that's probably a busier day for you than it would be if you were just in school.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, there are some additional steps that you have to take. For one, we get a lot more emails now, for sure.
Yeah.
When you definitely could have a conversation with a student in person and maybe save a lot of time and communication that way. We have to respond to emails. So I'm finding myself responding to a lot of emails, but we're adjusting, we're adapting, and I've been pleasantly surprised with the connections I've still been able to make with students online. So it's been great.
What ways are you finding to engage the students? Because it seems like, I mean, all of us we like structure, we like to be engaged when we're in a setting like that. How are you doing that through video?
Yeah, there's a couple of ways. One of the ways is I have my class divided into teams, and there's 4 teams in any given class, and all throughout the lecture pause and offer team points for someone that can give me the quickest accurate answer. And so a lot of times students will be kind of hanging on to that lecture because the opportunity to get a team point is there. And so I see a lot of interaction that way, where people are stopping and wanting to answer those questions, and paying attention that way. And then additionally, we also do a lot of review games and learning games, like Kahoot, or I actually play a virtual shoots and ladders with them.
Wow.
Yeah, when they're in their teams and they have to answer questions right to move along or to go up ladders and stuff. So we have a good time with it. There's a lot of interactive things you can do.
Okay, we are now joined by Morgan Fresh, who is a senior at PV High School. And Morgan, I remember meeting you several years ago because you've been playing softball for a very long time. Thanks so much for being with us today and just kind of talking about what it's been like since everybody's been at home and dealing with school at home. Sort of take me through your day and tell me how it goes.
Yeah, so I've kind of had the time to adjust to online school and everything, but at first it was kind of like a hard adjustment, especially with everything going on with COVID. But basically, I just get up from my bed, walk over to my computer, and log on. I don't really get ready or anything, even I don't change out of my pajamas.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just really low key, and we don't really have much for it. But yeah, I just go from Zoom call to Zoom call every day. It just
How
kind of
how does it work as far as the classes go? Are they sort of one after another like in school, or are there breaks in between? How does that work?
Yeah, well, since we're on block schedule, we're still do it with the Zoom,
Okay.
and we kind of just have class and then another class, and then we have a lunch break
Okay.
and another class if you have it. But yeah, we get breaks in between it, and our Zoom time is 100 minutes for each class.
Okay.
So it's pretty long to sit on the computer, and most teachers give us a little break in between where we can turn off our camera, go to the bathroom if needed.
Just kind of have that moment.
Mhm.
When you think back to when you guys first started this to now, what was the biggest challenge to overcome?
I think it was just get organized with everything, because when we first started doing this, all the teachers were using a different platform to send out assignments and everything. But now with this year, all the teachers are on Google Classroom, and it's really nice because it's all organized, and all my classrooms are on it with each classwork and everything. So that's been nice, and that was a good adjustment for the year. It's
And
everyone being on the same platform.
now you're a student athlete, so have you been able to go back to the campus to work out and practice?
We practiced a little bit before last year, in the fall, but we kind of took a break when the numbers were getting higher and with winter break and everything.
Right.
But we're expected to go back February 1st next week, so that's exciting. But yeah, we've just been able to do smaller practices, and you have to have your mask on the whole time, and you're in little pods, and you just have to kind of give everyone social distance and everything. So it's different, but it's also just nice to see everyone in person, even if
Ab-
we have to like have restrictions.
Absolutely. You know, I don't think I've asked any student athlete this question, but what is it like having a mask on when you're out there sort of working out?
I mean, it you definitely have to get used to it because it's like obviously like restricting breath sometimes,
Yeah.
especially if you're doing like work like conditioning or something like that. After a while, you get used to it, but I don't know, it's just hard. But yeah, it's okay. But like, it's whatever you can do to like see your friends, I
Yeah.
guess. Cause like it's just nice to get that like face to face interaction. Cause like over Zoom, it's different.
It is different. And I think that's, you know, something huge to really consider as well. I mean, have you been able to really see your friends out of, you know, after school time?
Yeah, I've like stuck to like little bubbles of friends. Like I
Good.
haven't like gone out and seen a bunch of people, but I've seen like 3 or 4 friends, and that's like nice to just like stick with that bubble. But it's like I'm missing like my like school friends and like with like seeing different people every single day and like making new conversations and making new friends. And it's like really hard to do that over Zoom
For
because
sure.
yeah, we don't really get much like little chit chat talk time. And even though our teachers like try to put us out in like breakout rooms, it's kind of just like awkward and no one really like tries to interact and like get to know each other over Zoom call. But
For students who are having some issues and it's not as easy, what advice would you give them?
um for me, I'd just say that, and that's a tough one,
It
but
is.
for me, it's just like to get like really organized with all of my workload
Mhm.
and kind of just like make like my like room into like a nice like functioning place for me to do my schoolwork. And
I
yeah,
think
that's
that's
really
probably a huge one too, because you want to be comfortable where you're doing your school.
Yeah, for sure.
We are now joined by Daisy Robertson. Daisy, you are a senior at PV High School, and you're also a cheerleader. You are a volleyball player. That's two very active events. And I kind of want to know how you're incorporating all of them with at home school. But let's kind of start with school first. Since last year, when everything shut down, to now, how have you sort of made the at home school work for you?
So I would say when school shut down last March, it was definitely very different. The teachers approached it like it was a temporary situation. No one really knew when we were going to go back, but
Okay.
we all kind of had the idea that we would be returning at some point. So school, we had spring break. We were off for 2 weeks, and then we heard we might be off for a little bit longer. So the schools decided to put a schedule in place. It was not as strict as it is now. We'd kind of meet with our teacher once or twice a week, get the work, and check in. Whereas now we're on a block schedule. We have attendance is taken. We have to be in class from a certain time to a certain time.
Right. And then for you doing cheer, how have you guys stayed together? Have you ever been able to practice? Or are you doing virtual things? Tell me about that.
Yeah, so at first, we in the spring we were doing all online stuff. We'd work on like keeping up our like physical stuff, doing workouts over Zoom. Our coach would give us like work on this, practice our jumps. We also had to retry out for the cheer team in the spring, so we were given routines to like learn by the older girls last year. And this fall, it has mostly been teaching the new girls, so the freshmen, the routines because they kind of continue like through the years. We use the
Right.
same one. And so we were able to go back to campus for a little bit in cohorts of 12. So we had little groups where there was a couple seniors, a couple juniors, sophomores, and freshmen in each group. We'd go over the material we had learned like throughout the summer on Zoom. And yeah, kind of it was definitely fun to be back in person, and now we're back to doing our online workouts, which isn't the same, but yeah, we're hoping to go back next week if things play out as planned.
Fingers crossed for sure.
Yeah.
When you talked about helping the younger girls who are in cheer, what has that experience been like for you?
I absolutely loved it because I joined cheer my junior year, so it was definitely like a new experience for me. So I love to be able to like help the girls. And even though we're not able to, like, everyone has masks on and stuff, like, we're still interacting.
Right.
And I love that because these girls like don't know like the cheer experience that we've got to have. So it's nice to try to like get them excited about the sport that I've loved being a part of, and hope that that experience can be somewhat similar for them moving forward.
And then you also play volleyball. How have you been able to balance that?
So I'm on the beach volleyball team because
Okay.
when I joined cheer, I couldn't do like indoor volleyball and cheer.
Okay.
So I kept up beach volleyball. Our season got canceled halfway through last year because it is like in the spring.
Mhm.
And it kind of just ended there. There hasn't really been anything for that because it is a spring sport. We haven't been able to like do any practices for that.
Okay.
Um, but as far as like keeping up, like I go to the beach sometimes, play on those courts, just kind of trying to stay fit, going on runs, you know.
Keeping active for sure.
Yeah.
For you, how have you made this a successful transition, dealing with school at home?
I would definitely say it was not easy. Like I know a lot of people are struggling right now.
Mhm.
I'm definitely a person who loves school and has done pretty well in school, I'd say.
Mhm.
So the adjustment was tricky, but I think the biggest thing for me has been focusing like one day at a time, like trying to find like the small things that can get me through the day. I've started going on walks before school because I used to be excited to wake up and go to school, but now it's like I'm not excited to get on Zoom. So I go on my walks in the morning. I started baking, reading a lot more, like finding these like little things for myself that I've been able to kind of, yeah, pick up with all this extra time.
And nobody has brought that up yet. So you found other things to also do, like baking or other hobbies.
Yeah.
Now, did you try that before this, or was it really kind of self-motivated?
I'd say it's pretty self-motivated. Like I think all of a sudden, the one like good thing I'd say that has come from this whole pandemic is that it's really given me an opportunity to stop and like slow down. Like we weren't seeing anyone. It was just my family for a while, as everyone was at home, and I think it gave me time to realize like what's important, what I need to focus on, and that there is a lot of like extra noise that I sometimes fixate on, like with school and stuff. Obviously it's important to do well in school and focus in school, but there's a lot more to life than just completing tasks, you know.
And I was going to ask you what you've learned the most through this process, but I think you just answered the question, is realizing that there is a time to really kind of slow down and just kind of listen to yourself.
Yeah, for sure, that has definitely been my biggest takeaway.
We are now joined by Anna Terrell. You are a junior at Palos Verdes High School. Anna, thanks so much for being with us today and just kind of talking about how things have been since you've had at-home school. Can you kind of take us through your day and explain how your school works at home?
Well, I kind of wake up like 5 minutes before class, just kind of
Okay.
put on a different sweatshirt, sit at my desk, kind of just log on, and then sit in that same seat all day until I go to practice, go for a run, come back, and just do some work in the same chair. It's pretty boring.
Yeah, well, and it's an interesting thing to think about because, normally you would be going to school and then going and doing your practice. Now, do you have the opportunity to go to school to practice?
Not currently, but a couple weeks ago, yeah, we had practice at school. Yeah.
Okay. So as far as the studies go, how do they sort of break that down? Are you on a system where you can see your classmates and your teachers, or how does that work?
Yeah, so we do it on a Zoom, and you can see everyone unless someone has their camera off, but we're supposed to have our cameras on. You can see everyone, and it's pretty much mostly just kind of the teacher talking, but every once in a while the student kind of chimes in with something.
I was going to ask you that if you have the opportunity to kind of talk to your classmates.
We do breakout rooms sometimes where you can talk to the classmates, but it's kind of iffy. Like I've been in breakout rooms where I talk and I'm trying to like work with people and no one answers me and I'm the only one saying anything. So it kind of depends on the people in the class.
For you, what's been the biggest challenge with at-home school?
I think just getting used to it. The
Mhm.
first week when school started, it was pretty bad. Like the first day, I was kind of excited for school to start, and it was pretty good. But then after 2 days, I was like, okay, this is so weird. This is terrible. But after I got used to it, it's been okay. And then starting back after winter break too, kind of the same thing. Just hard to get
Kind
into
of
it.
getting back into the flow of it.
Yeah.
And then as far as homework goes, how does that work? Because obviously, how long is your school day? Is it like a 6-hour day, a 5-hour day, like it would be at school, or?
It's pretty much the same length. It's probably a little shorter, but basically the same.
Okay.
A lot of teachers do like half the class a lecture or something, and then the other half is async work, which also, if you don't finish, turns into homework. But the homework's not as bad as regular school, but I think it might be more work, but you do it in class.
Got it. Okay. Now for you, you're a student athlete, you're a runner. Tell us about that.
I think I kind of like not having to go to practice straight from school. So that part's kind of nice, but also not being able to go to school and kind of having to adjust with that and not being with like the team environment at school. That's kind of been weird, but especially with running, you can do that by yourself. So
Right.
that's been pretty good.
Now you spend a lot of time running. How much time do you devote to that?
Probably an hour a day average
Okay. And how long have you been running?
since 6th grade, actually. It's been a while.
Wow. What
Yeah.
sort of, what sort of motivated you to want to run?
One of my friends from elementary school, or no, a friend from preschool that I was going to middle school with, she was like, "Oh, I'm gonna do this. Do you want to do it?" I'm like, "Sure." And then I just started doing it, and it was fun, so I stayed with it.
That's awesome. Do you
Yeah.
do you think that being a student athlete, maybe having that structure sort of helped you with this online school?
Yeah, I think so. Being able to look forward to getting outside of the house definitely helps, and then also being able to like with running, it's kind of you have to work hard to get better.
Yeah.
It's pretty much that's like the only thing you do.
Yeah.
So getting used to it is kind of like, okay, just kind of push through. It'll be fine in a little bit.
Now, in addition to school, when you do have a chance to do other things, what do you like to do?
Honestly, I kind of just sit in my bed, watch TV. I play the guitar.
Ooh.
Yeah. Not much.
Well, that's good. You have obviously other things that you enjoy
Yeah.
that away from running, away from school. Music is a great way to release, it's a great outlet for learning. So that's pretty cool too.
Yeah.
So if you were going to give advice to another student about how you're feeling like you have success with at-home school, what would you say?
Just keep pushing through it and keep trying to make it work, and eventually you'll find what works for you to make it work.
And that will do it for today's show. A very big thank you to all of the students and the teachers. You have really been an inspiration to all of us. I'm Maria Serrao, and we'll see you next time around the Peninsula.